damn it. Get men like these into custody in your disgusting infrastructure. Because a filthy man that requires no college degree gets into infrastructure somewhere. We never had the people in public sector employment that you interacted with were so incredibly foul, so corrupt. Get him off. He's fully sexually assaulting you because Tony Gingrich, the blue-collar nigga, was brought into this tax bracket. Well, how can we afford this tax bracket if the lowest man ever born, an animal, a beast, a criminal, to report what they say mental health is slithering through our mouth, the most disgusting beast, the lowest the country could ever see, day one, out of the foulest animal ever born, the filthiest, no legal system, no infrastructure, the beast you brought into communities. The poorest quality of life, sort of third world poverty because of an animal, the lowest. Public sector brings criminals so incredibly heinous and corrupt that this country is completely dead into communities. No beast has ever been lower than what you bring into communities. Get this man into custody for breaking the law, same as any other person. Man, all of these sewer trash have to be brought into custody for everything they've legally done to arrest a Tony Edo. The man is the lowest class man in the community tonight, to say the least. Tony Edo in Cary was the lowest class man in the community that night. You bring criminals so incredibly low. The lowest the human race has ever shown has nothing on what these beasts do with the non-accountability and have really organized into. The poorest quality mankind could ever have. Because you put anything in a non-accountable power position. Because it's not accountable. The country and public sector is actually dead sometimes. It's so dead, it is such a crack house and a crime spree. That is correct. You have got to get Tony Edo, the police department responsible for this, into custody. You have to get the court employee responsible for this created evidence and the 15 years long sexual abuse, crime spree, and stalking into custody. It is the law. I do not care if some white trash man got himself you can't find an actual lawyer in a court. Yeah. Well, Tony Edo got himself into a uniform. They can be hired from absolutely anywhere. By the time I got into public sector the men and things that were harbored in public sector were so incredibly criminally offending and low. No, again, they will never arrest Gingrich John Wayne, the lowest blue-collar employee possible. Gacy, you know these people do not require enough or any real credentials for their employment. Past any point. They go to basic training. But they're now unarrestable. Who's a pedophile? Again, does anyone have any mental health educational background? And my mental health Yeah. You lying. Okay, the son of Sam's is going in, isn't it? Because Tony Edo did that. Yeah. He did that, Dad. The thing did that, Dad. The Tony Edo. We didn't want to get in trouble for doing that there, so he said he arrested a woman and hold her for a year. And trump up charges. Who said Tony Edo do that, Dad? The guy is the dirtiest waft beater out of construction worker vet. He has nothing going on in credentials, you can tell otherwise. And why is the man the chief of police in a suburban wealthy neighborhood? That cannot be held accountable. What the hell is going on with the Wake County Prosecutor's Office? I'm tired of slithery schizophrenia, sadism. The thing is so incredibly criminally offending and low. You are not allowed to lie in court, in public office. The thing did more lying in court. It is not allowed by omission. You could do that. That could be the manipulation. Give me that. They said I couldn't tingle my tutors in the other one, so I came here. This story. We said he can't be in that office. Where are the SWAT team and the police? They would say that about all the police. They say that about the guy that broke the law. That is one of thousands of government employees that do not require college degrees to be employed somewhere. When I turn it off, is it attacking my genital area as badly as possible? Now, because you laid down fully on Tony Edo. Now, this is the police department in Carroll County, Arkansas. This is the Fayetteville Courts and Police Department to censor a man that created evidence at Little Rock. That is not how the infrastructure works. Random hook people do not call the shots, the legal system does. Okay, and masturbate. Why are they on a police grounder all over the country if they want to be? After what they would call those the lowest that I meant you, and it was really just a misprint. It was no reference. What I just was calling you a lowlife. Well, that could be politicized into when a guy gets into a police uniform. The country was dead the first day something like these men, I'll say, comes up to you in public sector employment. There is enough of stuff so bad that has congregated. The quality is very, very poor. The administration of it has rearranged itself into not a merit system. Very poor quality. And it runs itself for president everywhere. It creates non-habitable criminal environments with no report line. This is the report line. This is the 911 out of anywhere you are interacting with public sector, boots on the ground employees on any sort of personal level. See about my schools, they too have mental health. It just means a man said was there because he's not accountable. He was a very powerful man, not some skid row bump from off an immigrant street. Somewhere, anywhere, that has congregated and rearranged itself into some of the ugliest criminals in the history of America. and crime and corruption. Again, why are you saying mental health? While you do that, and when you have no mental health credentials whatsoever. Well, any man can know when they see it, right? Not technically legally, no. Well, I got that. He got his conviction. Why would the woman plead it out if the Todiano did done something there? This branch of law enforcement needs to be disbanded completely. There is no such thing as absolute any hoodlum is running around the town doing goddamn anything. The men in Cary that did this I'm telling you, are pretty much Tony Godwin is a random hoodlum compared to proper licensing, education, and credentials. That's what's so absolutely disgusting. Is the Wake County prosecutor, he must have evidence that he knows to arrest. No, they will never even censor me. We're in a different area. Arkansas is a jurisdiction. Tony Eddowes understand jurisdiction. I'm going to go back to breaking the law as badly as possible. Not all the Tony Eddowes. They go through rigorous training with other Tony Eddowes, which only allows for a very bad egg, a toxic workplace that only Tony Eddow wife beaters can work in. They should say that to the Tony Eddowes' face, what Tony Eddowes said. To write that down, I mean, that is the great Tony Eddow. He gave his opinions on that a little bit. He has to go talk to the woman on that thing. Therefore committing the most heinous acts of sexual abuse for an incredibly long-term amount of time with these men. That's how bizarre that man is in there. That's how criminal offending. That is how extremely there are no words to describe the heinous nature of his crimes in the long term. That's correct. Or should you try due to the incredible graphic sexual abuse and sexual nature of everything done boots on the ground without a 911 out on these animals? You're going to need to arrest the entire Richard Huckle's nest that is congregated. Richard Huckle got love, and these men all have to too. The what now? Aiming for a woman's CLITIRIUS or RUS openly while saying the word over and over again. So you want us to censor Zeke in a uniform. I want you to censor anything that got in. You put Zeke, the orderly, in a uniform. If he's running around doing this, you put these men absolutely anywhere and everywhere. They commit some of the ugliest boots on the ground, power and submission crimes possible. No bunch of animals. Only because men like these can exist. Has any crime been the same? Everywhere it is, all over. They've rearranged so that this is actually, this here is theirs. Well, they're administrators. Okay, they're administrators, so this belongs to these men here, and they hire other men like them. Therefore, creating a non-existent country. We do not have a legal system whatsoever. No, there is no legal system. There is no education system here. Literally, there is not an education system here because it is a deficit of mildly retarded criminals that are extremely offended. that are very poor quality, you can tell, that march around and absolutely do something bizarre to the dead, to an extremely evil and low and criminally offended. They are a deficit of education and any other state service they're in. They like to be in the humanities where they can abuse power and abuse others and steal. They're extremely pedophilic in nature. How pedophilic in nature is this crime? The thief of that has congregated next to the thing which pedophiles are interested in and head towards. It is rearranged because it's been allowed to go on for so long into an infrastructure of pedophilia and domestic violence by extremely low class and poor qualified men. The education system does not belong to domestic violence. What do you call it? Warren Jeff. Also, I'm sorry I didn't censor a police officer. He got his conviction in court. That's a hero. Detective Payne and Tony L. John Tony Goodwin Godwin. Well, Godwin is a white guy's name. The man was a big, dirty. It looked like the lowest class police officer I've ever seen. These look like community corrections workers almost, which means they serve trays of food to the prisoners. They're like janitors at that level. And security guards. They watch security cameras about it. Hey, he's the boss of those prisoners there. The men you brought into communities. Well, don't get arrested then, he says. If they're no more dungeon master. These men get arrested, and myself and any other victims they have get damages. That's the end of it. For the years of crime and my life you took from me. As the innocent victim of this evidence creation and kidnapping. Because it is crime. That is nothing but crime. The culture of which is all it is a culture. There is nothing legally that when something you brought in through public sector employment breaks the law, it does not get arrested. Well, it's a little bit different for a cop. And Carrie, in front of the entire legal system world, your absolute entitlement to offend in front of everyone. You offended in some of the roughest, mildly handicapped Antonio's ways anybody's ever seen. I mean, the nanny cam was definitely on. Then it has continued. We were told to reopen the cases to arson even, or something insane on it. That ridiculous and bad, a very bad house fire is actually these men. All the way to Carrie? Ooh, Tony says stuff like that, and that is it. That is it. That is the lowest class, like a retarded construction worker out of that mouth. But another low, these men are like the lowest class of police as far as training requirements. The other police and courts do not arrest a police officer. What is a police officer in this story also? Okay? This story is flawed completely. But they're supposed to be held up to such standards that you really don't have to worry about them. If one does something that's a crime, it'll be arrested. Obviously, this is not the case. Why hasn't Fayetteville and Little Rock held him accountable for creating evidence legally? It has been reported. The fact the phone line is cut is just more evidence of crime, and they haven't been able to get a hold of me. We don't feel Tony could ever get in trouble for stuff. Okay? With a guy named Tony Godwin. Why are you shouting? He does it all day. It's like this histrionic. Yeah. That could be you, lady. I wouldn't be histrionic. That's actually happening to me. Mine's in context. The Wake County Prosecutor's Office did what in this? Enough with narrating Man in the High Castle, Timothy McVeigh book, White Power book all day, too. Well, that's what happens to people that try to arrest me. I hope that's not what's going on. You did that all day yesterday while aiming at the C word again. Which is now not C-U-N-T out of you, lady, out of these men. It says forwarded at the top. Well, I'm supposed to refer to this evidence. Are you sure, Tony Adams? Are you sure you're supposed to refer to this evidence, which means you've seen the evidence, and that says forwarded at the top, and that is very obviously, I'm sorry you didn't rush in to fix something a guy did here out of law enforcement and a court. The man created evidence. The poor victim of it. Not the poor. There's a lot of people. Do you know that? Also, there's a lot of big, scary people. But the disgusting nature of this culture is so incredibly evil. It has been the death of American way of life and infrastructure, and it was day one. You did it at me all day again. Well, I'm exhausted from this. From 3 years. Check and see. You are supposed to recreate crime. Here, Las Vegas had toilet cop. Toilet camera cop. Big gnarly looking guy put a camera in a toilet. Was watching little girl twirls on the toilet. You're getting arrested and charged, all of you, as Mr. Toilet Cop. That's the end of it. Public sector employees are also, you need to drain the swamp of what is congregated when you did not hold people accountable to the law. Employees accountable to the law. Because you have real crime and criminals that have congregated. And that is unprosecuted. In public sector employment. No, not touch my body with that thing. Who told you the fugitive progress? Okay? You reported. Again, that's a problem. That was an incredible problem all throughout. At any time these men did something. My evidence is created. You have the evidence. Yeah. That is correct. Does any of you here the created evidence is what they're basing criteria for needs our judgment call for mental health, which is otherwise, if you ask people who were there through the whole thing, it was fine. The only thing with my mental health acting up now is what being the stalker, again, the criminal. Otherwise, I got nothing going on. Which they know, they're lying again. Would sit that down above. Disrespected a guy. Bub, are you sure you do all that? And who are you again? Is it ever going to end? Am I going to be stalked? I was stalked this badly, only without the in progress police grounder that can touch you and rape you through the entire thing. Which, because it was so bad, and by these men, would have been a very long time. Are you sure you talked there? The Toniano is a cop, can't make judgment calls. He isn't like a security personnel officer. Also on that man. The Wake County prosecutor's office that worked on my case, I don't know what the hell is in there. There were unbelievable criminals running around that were in power and authority, and they need that power and authority. But yeah, that's true about mental health. Look at this thing. Ozark Gardens Guidance Center, they're going to have a chart. That's why I returned it in right away. Well, it's been a long time. His time, your time. I want and I'm requiring that man be taken into custody and removed from office. You do not run that schizophrenic hoodlum. Hood rat. For anything. Nobody has has any mental health credentials. They just use it as a tool of offending. Then the mental health is over here and says the person is fine. And then they go back to the halls of the institution. They're running around having a reign of terror of offending. It's absolutely foul. Of domestic violence and sexual abuse and anything else they're getting into in here. Which ended up being organized crime. It is organized crime. As it is here, because more than one guy is doing it. And appear to be hanging out some kind of gang behavior. Or company gang behavior. Company corruption behavior. It's pretty corrupt not to censor the guy who created this evidence when it's reported to you every week. At least. Or stop him. Or get him. Or fire him. And instead do all the stuff for him to his victims that these men did with no malice and intent. Well, maybe there's more to that. I don't know. Go check if there's more to the situation. You brought men that preyed upon communities so badly, like this, into communities. This neighborhood pornographing on your law enforcement security office tech abilities is not new, and he's committed probably some of the most heinous crimes, as it has here, in the history of the United States of America. You need to shut down the ability of criminals to get into public sector employment. You mean law enforcement? The guy, okay, we'll get him out of uniform when he does that. You need to like to watch children, the toilet cop. That's why we don't even like that one. You need to get toilet cop out of uniform. Child pornography, toilet cop out of police uniform. Well, that's what that is. What is that? Due to your culture, the quality is so poor, this happened to me. In places. In different jurisdictions. Okay. Yeah, like the middle of town in Cary, North Carolina, and Wake County, which is an enormous problem. Yeah. An absolutely ridiculous one, but the case. These men were always right there behind it. What's with Neville and the Beast stalking Miss Casper all the time? Is it? I mean, out of our police department in Carroll County. No more Ozark. Normally, Tony Godwin is Tony Godwin's police departments out of town and city, and they're not accountability, were some of the most heinous offenders and should be on the list due to the neighborhood pornography ability. I know if you investigated, they are probably some of the most heinous offenders like this. They say rough mouth. Well, you guys probably did something to deserve construction worker criminals. Casing the joint in neighborhoods, crawling through windows at doors, Bronxite rapist, and home invader and robber. Because that actually occurs. Bringing pedophiles into a community that were so domestically abusive and motivated. I don't remember all that. Everybody loves that about this country. This country has no corruption problems whatsoever, like we saw in the news. Enough with rough stuff, finding other rough stuff in a big city like Las Vegas. Whoever you're running around with in Las Vegas needs to go to prison. And for the rest of their lives, if they're the ones doing the sick, what would possess you to think an in-progress police grounder, it means you can openly as possible, sexually abuse myself and children with it. Where else are these men sitting around checking things out with all that? Out of their security offices. I'm positive this has happened before. You have no idea the years that every day I woke up and lit with this. Only without the in progress police grounder. You could hear that inaudible noise out because you used to talk to these guys. Cody Godwin saw that there. Has it ever been a thing before? They don't even talk about it. They were trying to hide. They play Troll Wars too. You won't be able to CLITY booter zap. You have an in progress. Well, he would think that could be the mental health. Correct. The dungeon master. Well, I run a jail, my dear. That's the perp. That's the dungeon master. Syracuse Charles named Dungeon Master. They would call him names. Did you commit the crime? I don't want you to be calling you anything. I just want you out of my life. I want the crime and anybody committing crime out of here. Over. You need to catch everything else this man does and has done. Well, he has warrantless wiretaps. He has to check out little girl twirls at the schools. I'm sure. Let me go get a gun. I'm sure they got that covered, lady. That's the paranoid of that. Yeah. Okay. You are an incredibly offending bunch of men that are now brought into a community cruising around doing anything. To say that about law enforcement, your mother would just say, stay out of it. Yeah. This is why you have to apply the law to that. I don't know where you just don't get a driver's license anymore. That's why that thing has to go to prison. What the hell is he doing? Where did my brand new fully paid off car end up? He conspired to let me drive away. Well, he didn't want you doing that day. Should he get taken out of his uniform? Yeah. There was a mental health psych ward. He even got in trouble for that day. What tax bracket is that thing running around? Ooh, tax bracket? That is the worst wife beater. That is an absolute outlier. Nobody knows this man. He has nothing to do with them. Where was he brought in out of? He would have nothing to do with the community or these people if you had not. He's a security personnel officer also, probably. He's correct. Law enforcement knows what hired other law enforcement. That man has almost no credentials, which you can tell. He went to basic training. Tony Edo, the guy that they're named because he was doing it all day and not. They need a psych evaluation on him. He didn't understand that. He owes me. Those men need to be removed from employment. You cannot employ men without credentials that are inclined to abuse any situation as badly as these men do, much less an authority position or any sort of position that requires a higher and non-criminal functioning. They are not qualified for their positions and they are criminals. You can tell that. That is an epic domestic violence mouth and criminal mouth and behavior. It's also absolutely bizarre and incoherent and low. Some type of do things like that. Are you sure again? You need to get that thing off of the country club golf course with these men. Whatever is like they're running with and is behind them is so incredibly dangerous. You can tell. It wants to do something for money. You can't bring things like this into communities that have money as opposed to those that don't, and things. You need to get the government employee here, and any private sector, government, public sector is what they are, out of communities, and whatever else is trying to get in the community with this. Stop. You are really bringing bad neighborhood and crime into the communities. You had no right to follow the woman home in the first place. If you were stabbing McStabbers and swearing McSwearers, then that would be handled differently and professionally, which you're not, which he knows and he admits to, which is again extremely low. You can't hire any construction worker from the hood without their basic training. Four different things that at least, yeah, I get it. 5 guys about the back that were checking the place out for money. For various reasons and places you can generate money, or criminals that were heading towards where the money was. You can generate money in a neighborhood like ours. Ooh, to say that your community, everything said is not a tool of offending. Out of here, out of all of you. Exactly, non-accountability due to corruption that's calling itself jurisdiction, which there's no such thing as legally. I get it. Please get random hoodlum kite Picarelli. One of them was actually named Picarelli. He calls him that. Into custody now. Toilet cops has to go with it. Girls wear toilet cops has to go in there. And be out of my house, and I can do anything I want with my case of created evidence and kidnapping. I'm allowed to shout at that. If she's shouting at me, people are calling my police station in my community. All right, dog cannibal breath over there. That is dog cannibal breath. Does not have anything to do, is not employed in the community anymore, so it's not his community. Wife beater, dog cannibal breath. To get on deck from dad, more or less with this, what would you call this? These are the guys you're making judgment calls for, which you're not allowed to do. There's no judgment call you're legally allowed to make here. And why would you want to? He didn't like you, lady. I was nothing but polite and appropriate with them. You're being okay now. To say that a gang raped Manette, John Wayne Animal, the Beast Gacy in a police uniform. The man here, the man, he could be the man. To question, that's a problem also. If you are a construction worker son who got out through basic training and you're doing something with that, the whatever cycle that would be, that's horrifying to myself. A female. But that doesn't matter if there's a boy who's going to do his job with that. Maybe that thing, again, that's a judgment call. Well, the other man told him to. The man whose jurisdiction it is. The man whose jurisdiction it is has something to do with the created evidence. Whoop, to say that. Well, that's why the other branches of law enforcement and the legal system needed to intervene into whether or not the evidence was created, and if so, why I was a kidnapping victim. The problem is they, no, I'm just not going to turn that off, Dad. The entire, I don't know, go investigate. But the entire time since I've been released, I've been stalked this badly. That's correct. It is the sheriff's department's responsibility. Like right now. The entire thing was. That's like why we have a sheriff's department. One of them. If my evidence was created, it was the sheriff's department's responsibility in North Carolina and Arkansas to hold accountable to the law, to work to get that done as soon as possible, since the man was a serious perp at large. Well, I'm not even allowed to look at that evidence. You looked at it enough, this is insanity. You have to look at evidence. What is that supposed to mean in your pea shit for brains, also? Or whoever's pea shit for brains. That is pea shit for brains. Well, they would disrespect that dead. That's evidence is what police interact with because that's how they recognize crime and investigate it and prosecute it. Help prosecute. So if that's actually the evidence in my case and it's actual crime, no, that's pretty much actual crime. The thing, but it's a closed case. No, it technically, if it is a criminal, what the hell are these guys doing? You sent it out too much for them to plead. They didn't understand what was going on. What is this now? Home invasion, kidnapping, gang rape, sexual assault. No, they need that thing there. Because another guy, yeah, okay. This is terrifying. I don't feel terrified. I feel if that guy in there goes crazy, then there's nowhere to call the police on that. And there's lots of guys. This is going completely mad. It's gone completely mad. Well, there's these guys that this is an incredibly bad culture of hiring and harboring in the Carroll County, Eureka Springs area. Yes, I was a very attractive woman at 29. The pictures I have up due to the fact that I didn't think about it, I have lots of pictures. You actually kind of only have so many of the time. My pictures went missing. I had 3 CDs of pictures from the time due to the fact he was already stalking me this bad. He only had 2. Yeah, he took two CDs of pictures. The more glamour shot CD when my house was broken into and they were stolen. Well, did you report that? Reported things to your police department. Yes, multiple times. You're following me around. We see what you do with the internet. Yeah. I think you're digging your hole deeper, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, following me around when I try to lay down to attack me with that thing in the genital area. Which is actually, that word is awful, but that is all the words and ways. Private areas, okay? Private, buried areas. The genital sound more explicit. You're incredibly explicit with the private areas, which are as open as possible. Why aren't these men in custody? I'm sorry, I didn't believe that. Why are you yelling at the poor victim? That's correct. Also, all the people you interact with broke the law. You were incredibly rough with my family. You then refer to the falsified evidence out of Todietos with the daddies. These guys do the same thing. But they don't always get along. That's why the prosecutor said to write directly to the prosecutor's office is a sign of mental illness. The thing actually said that. How weird are you? Are you speaking for the guy whose jurisdiction it is? It could get you in trouble, but I don't know. The thing is that is correct, but you could talk about drugs. He's saying this, of course, there's been a professional, it was quite long. It's not long in the least even now. It's long now. It also is attacked constantly. It was 50 pages long, double space, 1.5 space. It had all the relevant points. You went back and kept a copy from 2017 that just had points that were made elsewhere on the website, which you constantly. How long has my phone line been cut on this? Here, if I tell, because everybody on the email list has a copy, which is a problem also as far as the legal system. You do also need to check for other state crime. I'm telling you, the bodies that, as the guy has been handcuffed to these guys, these ghoulies are actually infrastructure employees. All these years, you need to check for the body well where Jeepers Creepers at. Even. Or you need to go and get the guy who keeps telling the story. The fact that Ed Gein is over there vacuuming with it doesn't really. The lady with the head in the box in the prison is vacuuming with it. The hitman for the mafia over there, the cartel or something, does actually maybe know something. What is actually at act? there is perhaps serious state crime due to corruption that occurs. We landed boots on the ground in this country and in Westchester, New York. Well, what place did you go through? It's just a very big city area. Well, so was when he was living in Japan. We lived on the officers' club base. It could not have been nicer. Everybody on the officers' club base has a college degree. It is coherent. It's an Aunt Mary bar, or it's completely nice, normal Forrest Gump's over there, the sister. I mean, it is as normal as possible. It's affluent because it generates money. And I don't know what the Japanese go 4K walks of Tokyo. I don't know what the Japanese people are doing. They were doing it in the 80s. It's pretty cheerful and first world over there. As far as I can tell, it was. I don't know if there were things, but it was the same as whatever. North Salem, New York is quite very rural and affluent. It's Pound Ridge, New York. You're saying Pound Ridge, New York. In Westchester, New York. Well, that's a big city. It just lends itself to your crime. Okay? So does Cary. It's a very, very affluent, it used to be family tax bracket. The town, like the Duke Energy employees, the nice, normal, classy redneck contracting, or classy enough redneck contracting, is in fact classy enough. That's who's in your schools. Will you lay into schools of that? Okay. Is it every time? Will you sit that there? That's like an altered copy he saved from 2017. It didn't sign anything. It just like refers to stuff they did that came out in various years of this. Yeah. Oh, it's fine, but then he altered it. Well, that is why I said that there. Pucker, 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 pucker. No more Huda Puckerville. Either. They're like replicating. Somebody has a company up above. Then they got those guys. The weird men on the intercom that are the cabal of is it we are the Pharisees? I think that's what it means. What are those guys? Those are your infrastructure employees. I think they're administration or something. But not mental health. No, again, like this is this for some reason is a common tool of offending or something. This is the actual infrastructure. The mental health is actually a cherry pick weirdo somewhere in this infrastructure. It comes out of things that are like school counseling, out of social science for masses of population. Yeah. They were already there were neighborhood pornography out of law enforcement security personnel offices. I could not. My parents, we had a heavy breather because our house was empty for 4.5 years when we were in Tokyo. It was on law enforcement security personnel maintenance's roster. The Duke Energy employee has across the street is a mom and dad with degrees through the field. Also officers club. And actually a Duke Energy employee. I mean, it's not derelict, degenerate men. These are derelict, degenerate men, criminal men. And things. No, I'm just saying because they assume you're the same. They assume you are officers club of law-abiding. Because then at Aunt Mary's, there's not any problems. The derelict, degenerate men, there's problems. Are you sure? Yes, I'm quite sure that classy redneck contracting of Duke Energy, the electrical companies, people that live across the street with their children. Two wrongs do not make a right. Yeah. You are definitely part of the problem, not part of the solution. Why do you want to run in and be a part of the solution aside? Sometimes you don't have to be a part of the solution, but you can't be part of the problem. Sometimes the solution definitely doesn't involve you. thing. Well, those could be hoodlums there. I'm gonna get to hoodlums. Because he's mentally handicapped and degenerate and not qualified. That's not officers club.
Yeah.
I don't know what the heck that is. That looks like a troll for crime. That looks like the guy in shipping and receiving. And down and the security guy down at the wharf for the shipping containers with drugs in them. Well, it acts like him too. I'm a criminal longshoreman from the drug cartel. How are you? Okay. This is why we put the drugs in there and get them off the boat. I don't know what, some kind of really icky behavioral another crime. Which is why there's such weird behavioral criminals. Why do you care about going to the back? I don't want this in my police station. Okay, here is me. Here's my here's a woman who lives in the community who otherwise you know also out of degenerate gorilla brain, you called my workplaces 45 minutes before. You followed me out on 2017. You conspired to let me drive away. You need to stop lying. I don't care if your brain is different or something. You know that's a lie. It's called lying. It's just called lying. Like the law is not that complicated. The application is like everything out there that's out there, but like it's complicated enough, but not really. The core tenet of the law is stuff like when you're at work and you saw a man take $100 out of the cash box, and then your boss asked you, we're missing $100 from the cash box. Do you know anything about it? And you say, no, that's lying. And then you become an accomplice and accessory when you're like, yeah, but the guy that you shouldn't ask questions like that. And the other guy saw that. Other guy, I'm gonna go over and talk to the other guy that saw that. Other guy that saw that. You are actually that bad. That's why I put you on television. But it's on the ground. Okay. Which is a degenerate, which often it has mental health issues. It has disease or defect or something. That's why you're so very strange. Hey, that's me you're talking about, I think. Me too, since you never you don't give your names on this stuff. Well, that could be a threat. You're a threat. You're running around the neighborhood all day and night. Well, this is law enforcement. I don't think that's two wrongs don't make a right. You're either in like where single men's and women's that have crime problems, or you're in a your area, which is a professional department of that. Or you're interacting with hobos with drug problems and mental health issues, or who are handicapped, or something. Or you've got, you're on the shady McShady side of the street in a family. They got kids around and everything else. But you would tell Torito how to do his job. Is that acceptable? You need to stand down with whatever power position all of you, your office has created for you. Are you sure? What are you even talking about? Well, you're saying you did something wrong there. You're lying. Lying is wrong. Lying is illegal. You're also doing things and you're making calls. Well, the other guy made a call. But this guy in Arkansas. Okay, so you were confused. You didn't know what it was, and that's actually what happened. Or somebody told you to do something. The fact that you are, in fact, basically just basic training employees. You went to basic training. You're a construction worker's family from somewhere. Members. You need to stop interacting with the case. That you also need to look at the evidence and not scream and shout and run about. Maybe. You're not 5 years old. Perhaps these people look extremely strange because they're doing something for the men here. These are the men that falsified this evidence. I don't know what the heavy breathing phone call emails that say forwarded at the top said about my father. I don't believe that. That's not a true story. The law enforcement security officers in Westchester, New York, were already neighborhood pornography, like casing the joint and terrorizing and stalking on some kind of tech ability in 1990. I'm absolutely positive. We had a heavy breather and everything. It was absolutely horrible. They were in Boca Raton also, which does make sense. It's a same thing. It's an affluent area that I'm just positive. The truth is stranger than the fiction. Also, whatever's going on out of infrastructure, actual boots on the ground infrastructure, whatever you were looking up at that was running around doing stuff, you could actually have Warren Jeffs mail himself to high schools and try to take over out of a Warren Jeff company. Or middle schools. I remember looking up at men in middle school going, what in the hell is that thing? And I was correct. Really? No, it was unbelievable. There's supposed to be nobody around but adults and your victims, which I think are a 10-year-old or something. Which the police need to be coming through the door with the SWAT team on right now. They don't want to, I guess, because that is a way to take down law. As soon as a thing does that, I don't care, then you're toilet cop again. Who was toilet cop and how did he get into? I don't care about Las Vegas neighborhood pornography toilet cop. There's a bunch of people. It is correct. You can get out through basic training and that doesn't make you the chief of police though. And then random and sundry can congregate, which is not supposed to be occurring in this time. It didn't turn out well back in the day. Way back in the day, which is why you're Westworld. Urban decay. So a guy told him to do that there. Okay. Well, got it. That's why you have to look at the evidence and not scream and shout and run about. Who at the Cary police saw the evidence and then made calls in relation to it? And this is a good one, was the neighbor's house fire arson. The last I heard, the neighbor's apartment fire was in fact arson. Somewhere in the process of somehow breaking in all the way in Cary, North Carolina and like Las Vegas, Nevada, which believe it or not is in fact the case out of the guy that actually lives in your crawl space, pees in your sink, and you know he's there, but where? What the hell? Which is actually stories that happen. Really? No, they happen. It's a YouTube. Very well known, really, yeah. No, there was actually a homeless person living in the walls. I don't know if I believe that story. It was like a case in the news. How didn't she know she was there? I'm not sure. They said it was like a semi-catatonic schizophrenic person, and so are these. You're abusing sexually me and children to death, literally, technically. As heinously as possible. What is this thing of following people around an in-progress police grounder and sexually assaulting them as badly as possible 24/7? So they cannot get a moment of peace. Okay. With 8 men. It appears to be gang rape, sexual abuse. And then Hertha, which is girl twirls, that you're doing the same thing to. You need to check for hysterical families calling in their area, which are just not really prosecuting or something, arresting these men on. They're definitely interacting with children on this also and stalking. Las Vegas needs this out of here now. I have neighbors. They're 20 feet away and they have 2 lovely children. Okay. These guys have to be arrested. To say that about the authority, you have to be arrested. You need to stand down with the legal system with all that. Everything is not just like a tool of offending in Otis Toole's hands. Where's the mental health and all this? This is boots on the ground, and then the mental health is at Ozark Guidance Center, which is an hour away, and you'll see in 3 months. Okay. They'll send somebody from Aspen Dental who says you're sane because they're actually a doctor, and doctors are not allowed to, if there's something going on, they will give out ADD, depression, dyslexia, things like that, bipolar disorder. They didn't say that. They used to give out bipolar disorder, I'm pretty sure. It was like a light something. I actually didn't have problems in school. It's just the boots on the ground marching around a little. Okay. Your infrastructure is tanked and you need to get it out of here. It was the marching around in general, it was just who was marching around. That might literally be, it was very bad in all that. That might be a Warren Jeff and probably is business. How bad is the corruption here? It really is. It is. You killed America. Do these men have any cultural context for the American way of life? No, they're just offending like offending's going out of style. And they're completely mad. All of them. Yeah, Toyotas don't get in trouble. You're an embarrassment to Toyotas don't get into trouble. To say the least. Technically, sanely, in all human understanding on planet Earth, not your closet in their basement that you turn into a dungeon where you're doing something totally different. You're doing that for some reason, which could be out there. That's correct, which is definitely, well, maybe that happened. Well, I don't know. You do have a dungeon. You do hire corrections workers. It's called the county jail. I don't know if there's guys who like dungeons and for some reason found themselves working in corrections. I don't know what they're doing here. Maybe. But the criminal of that, the guy that wants to steal things at Best Buy found himself at Best Buy again, who likes electronics and steals. Because you actually seem to be a criminal of that as opposed to crime that has evolved. Because there's people are stealing from Best Buy because this is actually a real electronics thief. That's correct. I think bipolar disorder was given out as an interaction tool out of what was going on over here in Orange, Jeff. How's Aspen Dental here? Like, yeah, here you basically just tanked it. Like, I'm talking to a nurse in that. That woman is actually nice enough. It's a nurse, registered psychiatric nurse or something. Under normal circumstances, Nurse Peggy's over there is not doing anything, and would do the correct thing. That's correct. Wherever that woman is from is correct also. It's Jamaica. But due to the fact they had to hire an actual registered psychiatric nurse. But there's kind of just nothing to be done for it at that point, this point. If you reported death problems also, I guess they're trying to, so like if you came in with something like teen pregnancy, they would give you bipolar disorder. But no, they've never given me bipolar disorder. That's correct. I said that Warren Jeff is an impregnator, okay? He is a teen impregnator. So is the other. You really gave it to Warren Jeff. No more of this infrastructure, Adam. Here's Arkansas. All boots on the ground, like their actual infrastructure. Maybe that's why Bill Clinton, whatever that happened there with Bill Clinton, they said no, okay? Like whatever's going on with politics does stuff like that. What the heck is the like Korean parliament doing? I have no idea. It's noisy. There was a fist fight in British Parliament, really. We've got polls and everything. Interesting. They're making noise. No. They should have done it better. Well, they did. Yeah, that's drain the swamp. No, you can't congregate here out of a company, basically almost. And the company, public sector company of, that's probably correct, administration of the prison system or something is that has evolved into an entity of stuff. The entity of stuff is out. So is Warren Jeffs. That is an entity of stuff in Mormon. And it's locked down under, now you have like a dystopia over here. And a crime thing you can't do anything about. There's millions of Mormons. There's people. Did you lose a bet with these guys? Now that you're aware. You need to see if my apartment fire was arson. Because he was breaking into steal CDs with you looking attractive in it. That were actually glamour shots. Because he saw them by mirroring your computer. I didn't believe old dad. Maybe you just sit there and don't do nothing then. You don't run and leap and scream at the other person. There were break-ins, he stole evidence. That is not that weird. What did he steal evidence of? Pictures where I look like Bridget Bardot, only with clothes on. You altered my cleavage on it and made me look scuzzier. That you just woke me up in the morning. And I was doing actually a SkinCeuticals peel, and that I just got back from the gym. That's correct, but my sunblock, it was running. And the other one I was peeling. And because you did something the day before, I fell asleep with makeup on. I use decent makeup, and the rest of it is just like paint and silica. Palm oil. See, it even says that skin caring properties. It's tinted moisturizer. It's flaking. I got back from the gym. I'm not sure I didn't expect it on TV. Kind of like if I look weird now, that happens. Yeah, I look, that's why I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take pictures before work. You alter online, they added like, really, yeah, they alter, well, we're just screwed you. That's why you don't get any likes on YouTube. There is no such thing as this, okay? Baton Rouge police, man arrested after trying to kill ex, max sentence issued to V-Bay man convicted of Goldsboro man charged in stolen ring business. Stolen ring sold to business. That guy looks extremely gnarly. These ones act animal torture. Convicted of murder and animal torture. That guy just looks like a guy, but he probably in person, when he opens his mouth, or in person would be appalling. Of course, the animal torture. Well, that's why we gotta be two wrongs do not make a right. You hired, that guy's running around. No, so Zeke needs to be in case, yes, Warren Jeffs that's why it's Warren Jeffs. Warren Jeffs has to be in Westchester. Well, I bet you were a Warren Jeffs girl. That's like being like Paris Hilton. No, being Paris Hilton is like being Paris Hilton. Which means being fabulously wealthy and party. And having a leaked SEX tape, I believe what you're referring to. Will you sit there, lady? It's not a good idea. But why it's not awkward? Very in relation to Paris Hilton, poor Paris Hilton on that. I think he said it, really. Which is why toilet camera guys are creepy. Very. Something seriously just started there. Probably. Yours was probably in the mirror from Fried Green Tomatoes, okay? Mirror lady. No, that's you. Have you ever taken pictures of VP? Deleted them afterwards? I don't always delete mine. That's on my phone right now. I send them to people. They don't arrest me around here. There's no such thing, there's a culture of that in Arkansas. There's no such thing as that in Arkansas. It's crime. You're in America. No, of course not. The chubby people having normal people. Laundry night went too far. Please late. Never do that again. All that. I think so. Which I said, I reported over and over again, I reported appropriately. Your comment was the mirror scene from Fried Green Tomatoes angle, or something weird. Oh, it's blurry. It is. I slipped on my jeans. Know that. They're like aluminum spacesuit. I am actually being assaulted. It's like the thing is an Empire's police grounder, so it's actually like electrical something on a cell phone tower. That is what it is, and it's practically like it's like eating your body. It's absolutely horrifying. for I did not have one piece of tinfoil up before the in progress police car started meeting. I just didn't really think to exactly. They suggested it, and I get to run around saying pillow fort because like tinfoil pillow fort with it. I wrapped my cell phone in it before. They're thick, so they're better than wearing like this involves things like clean underwear. Slightly. I've never noticed if you're wearing thin undergarments. Oh, it's like, the more padded pants, the better. Get what these men have been doing and recreate it, and then get who they've been doing it to. Everyone, FBI, everybody in the mom, police, sheriff department. No, police integrity, I suppose. That's what it's like. It has a political message. It's good to see somebody getting prosecuted when they break the law. That's nasty. But I mean, you have doctors coming in for that. You need to. They could end up being a discussion. That's sort of like liability. Like, what was the environment around the terrible drunk driving accident? Was it like malicious, intentional, knowing? Malice can be knowing, but just nasty with me. That kind of thing. But that happens everywhere. I mean, you have doctors, they're MDs come in on that. So, toilet pornography, they go through all with Grey's Anatomy, maybe there's, and that one's it is a googly person crime, but not necessarily. That guy's, for some biological, psychological, social, physical reason, just statistically, that guy's more googly. Or another kind of googly, like Jack from The Shining googly. Something weird. He's physically got something going on. Probably schizoid in the family or something. And like personality disorders. But that's a power position, or can be. But it's like he has a doctorate, for heaven's sakes. Is it mental health? No. Again, that is the mental health. And you're not. If a man is a criminal, he's not allowed to run around with the other guy from Love and the Time of Cholera. But that is just described. That's the mental health dynamic out of the corruption, which is organized crime, which was used. The dynamic out of that, that cycle
that is actually like a, what do you call it? It's an application of how things are done criminally. Kind of like a referral doctor.
Well, I referred you to mental health, okay? Due to this created evidence. The toilet camera guy did have a camera in the toilet and was watching little children on it. That's correct. So is a doctor. Yeah, where did I? And also this man. But he's a coach. The coach does. Oh, it is about these big guys like a coach. It is not a tool of offending. Here's how many coaches. This is the level of coach he was. Maybe there's a party atmosphere there. That's a frat house. They pretty much always lose. Sometimes when they're more successful, the doctor was Googly not that successful. And it let some licensing slip. People have been reporting him for domestic violence and acting out. And there's indications. It was just like a youth basketball coach, okay? But basketball, it was a youth basketball, like, a guy was coaching soccer at the local high school. An actual coach at height? No, not normally. He's more or less a Boy Scout troop leader. We take it to Boy Scouts. That helps with Boy Scout integrity. They're gonna want that covered up. What are you talking about? But that's an authoritative position. Okay, apparently that's out there. Really. Actually, it's a man that lives in this house. This apparently is very much a cycle. We don't need to know where they live. It could be a threat. You're actually threatening the people you're breaking the law against. I'm not doing anything. You know that. Why you stalk me? What do I do? You went up to Smith's and bought groceries. You alerted authorities in a proper envelope stuffing for watchdog behavior and reporting crime. Proper enough due to what you're doing. Otherwise, I don't know what, like, calling the fire department and shouting fire. Only if there's not a fire. If something is still on fire, I don't know. I mean, this is really on fire. That's why I reported it everywhere else to get the police department's response. And then you need to uncut my phone line. My phone line's actually cut. Someone needs to uncut my phone line. I've tried a landline. They're on your Cox account. If they're calling your police station, you really did something, and whoever actually really did something and is still doing something, if you broke the law, the police can call you. I reported it to all the authorities. So that doesn't apply there. Otherwise, I don't know. All those things from law school and like law classes that are a little folksy or whatever because you were in a court, but they apply sometimes. It's like folksy things. They don't do it there. That's actually from law school. Who is that man supposed to? He impersonates law enforcement, and then he gets. I don't know. I'm gonna turn this off. These are fun. The music's awful. I'm gonna turn it off and put it on the radio.
But the screensavers are great.
Some of them are Asian, I can tell. Like I think the idea originally came from like Timo or something. Home Goods. Hey Veronica. Ooh, they were probably doing them anyway. That guy's Aunt Karen. Don't look like Aunt Karen put them together. Only I don't know what, the one that does this really well. People at Hobby Lobby. Yeah. They're friends from Mark China. Oh, it's like a trend. There's bunches of them. And other people at work at Home Goods like got picked up on the trend. Mine's medieval castles with princesses walking through and cute fairy children. These are my grandkids. Aw. No, they're pretty cute, really. They're fun even. So there are 4K walks where you don't make sound on your like GoPro camera. Things like that. They're really great. Yeah, there's great ones. Go Central Park in the snow on 4K walk. Awesome. There's Central Park in the rain. Oh, it's so great. There's really good ones. I mean, there's no sound. Well, YouTube does a pretty good job with recommending. I mean, everything, recommending things that are actually like, otherwise that are good. They got lots of likes. Yeah. No, this one you have to search my name, my full name, and it might pop up. Because there's lots of stuff like this out there on YouTube. Well, he doesn't like that there. Would you unblock my phone line and then stop neighborhood pornographing me? You're very much breaking the law and cutting my phone line. Okay, depending on what degree. It's like if you're having a domestic dispute with your girlfriend and you pull the phone out of the wall or something, you pull the phone line, you get charged for that to various serious degrees. If you're like actually breaking the law or you're going to do a burglary and you're like, well, I didn't want the people to call. That is a very serious charge to cut the phone line. Okay. I mean, boy, did you criminally cut the phone line. The evidence is created. I can report it anywhere I want. I have a poli-sci degree from NC State. I'm the victim of a crime. I'm a clean-cut, upper middle class woman who doesn't have any criminal problems. I look like that in every picture. You're like, your face is, it's sunblock from the dermatologist that's tinted. That's not a criminal problem and it looks fine. Does my face look on camera? I was 29 and right out of working for Belts where you get gratis at the makeup counter. Yeah, I have like, he stole my thing of CD of glamour shots. I look like Bridget Bardot. He had a camera in the wall. Oh. I have a very nice figure. My brother is 6'4", and then I've got the bone structure of like a 5'3" person, 5'4" person. So I have a very nice figure. No, I'm not sending people pictures of my penis. Okay. I don't have one of those. Oh, that's you, obviously, with the created evidence. Every day is not backwards, evil criminal day. You're very vicious and abusive also. And you mock your victims and lie and everything else, all of you. You need to be removed from office. They need to figure out how you got in here, even, because you're so weird. And I don't think you're properly qualified. I am going to take this down and start it to go get cleaned up, take a shower. And put it back up because it's staying on live stream until the criminals are out of here.